check that my sound is working. Yes. Of the actual video.
Sure.
So, well,
you know what, when we get to the video and you play it and I can't hear the sound, then we can just stop sharing and reshare with your computer audio. Did you select computer audio? You're not sure?
I'm not sure. Computer audio.
So when you press share screen, at the bottom left, there's a share sound button that you should activate.
Yeah, it's funny. Doesn't seem to be giving me that option. Okay, well, let's see how we go.
If not, then let me share it on my side. Okay, I will prepare that while you speak. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for all the messages of everybody sharing where they're from. Lovely to have you here. Lucia from Springstocks Childcare Centre, Carlam from Belleville, Cape Town, Umzile, Germiston. Sure, too many names to mention. It's lovely to have you here. My name is Helene Brandt. I am the marketing manager for Grow. And today I invited Lisa to join us. Lisa Voortman is our head of education. But before she is that, she really is an educator at heart. She is someone who has run a preschool for many years. She specialized also in special needs. And she's the person that I know who is the most dedicated and passionate to, number one, represent teachers in our organization and to keep the child at the core of the work that we do. At Grow, we always say that we want to work with center owners who have a heart for children and a head for business. And I think, Lisa, you really represent the heart. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Today, we are going to not waste any time. This is going to be a very, very productive webinar. We are talking about learner assessment, and Lisa is going to take us through a little bit of the background, what we need to know. And importantly, we're going to look at the tools that will support you in doing your learner assessments this year, if you so wish, so that you can make sure that you know how your learners are doing, and also so that you can share your results with parents and really present your preschool professionally. So Lisa, without any further ado, I'm just going to mention that this meeting is being recorded. And so if you don't have a notebook with you, don't worry. After the meeting, everybody will receive the presentation notes, and you will also receive the recording via email. And please feel free to use the chat or the Q&A section for any questions during the meeting. I will review them and make sure that Lisa and I get back to you. Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the wonderful warm welcome. And yeah, I firstly want to just say thank you to everybody that has joined. I know what it's like to be that busy in a preschool, and to make the time is very special. And as we sit here today, you know, it's an incredibly beautiful spring day. And suddenly that moment of panic when you realize the year's nearly over, we've got a lot still to do. So let's have a look at assessments, which is really the rounding off of our year in preschool. So okay, so today we're going to start by having a look at milestones. And what do we mean by milestones? We're going to look at how do we accurately define these milestones and look at them per age group. The next thing we want to do is look at the purpose of doing learner assessments. It's the why. Why do we do them? The next is the how. It's taking an in-depth look at the assessment process and what we should know before we start. And then lastly, let's have a look at the assessment tool and training that we offer, because we don't all know what steps to take, even though we are really willing to get on with doing learner assessments. So everything starts with the National Curriculum Framework. The National Curriculum Framework has given us the steps that they expect a preschool to follow when it comes to learner assessment. Step 1 is preparing for an assessment. Step 2 is identifying through observation. Step 3 is recording this information. Step 4 is interpreting it. 5, reporting and discussing with parents. And the last part is planning for the next activities. So let's take a look at this a little further. The NCF is all about observing and working with the children on an ongoing way. So it's not about a once a year where you sit down and you do a test. This is not at all like that. The NCF has made it very clear that we are meant to observe our learners in their daily routines, the way they play, the way they move, the way they learn. Observation means watching carefully and also listening to their conversations, how they chat, what they do. And then the NCF guide has given us 6 early learning areas that we need to observe every day throughout the year. So everybody, we know the NCF very well. We know the 6 elders. So we'll just move straight on from there. Now, what do we mean by developmental milestones? So basically, a child's development is obviously much more than just physical growth. It's really about how they play, how they learn, how they speak. It's a predictable behavior or skill set that a child develops at a specific day and time in their life. As they are developing, they're learning certain skills. And these are predictable skills. So on average, a 2-year-old should be able to do certain things, and a 1-year-old wouldn't because they haven't developed to that particular point. So developmental milestones offer important clues about a child's developmental health, which is why we should know where they are in their development at any given time. So an example of milestones for a 4 to 5-year-old, we could see that on average, they are able to copy shapes and letters. They can color in one direction within the lines. They can dress themselves. There are further things like fine motor control. They can have conversations and repeat questions and answers, and even recall stories in a particular sequence. We're not saying that every child has to be able to do all of these things, but what we're saying is that I'd be surprised if they're not able to start to do these things. Now, remember, 4 to 5, that's 12 whole months. So a child who's 4 plus 1 month is different to a child who's 4 plus 11 months. So their development is across a trajectory, a period of time.
Thanks, Lisa. I just want to stop there and say that Lisa has prepared slides with some of the traditional milestones that you would see for each of the age groups up to 5. We're not going to go through that in this webinar, but when I email you the recording and the notes, it'll include those age groups. And I think that, Lisa, it was so lovely that you just mentioned that these are milestones. Parents sometimes get so obsessed with the milestones.
Yeah.
And why isn't my child doing this yet? And if I look at young children, the difference of 3 months can make such a big difference. So that's lovely. Thank you for that.
Sure. So, we talk about the assessment. Really, what an assessment is a number of tools that a teacher has in order to guide her observations. So it's not a test. It's not something that we, have a very close testing environment for. So let's have a look at how do we use the milestones that we just had a look at before. And we use developmental milestones to guide our assessment, because remember, all children grow and develop at their own pace. The milestones have been established based on what most children can do at a certain age. It's more or less an average of what a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or 4-year-old can do. And then these milestones are a guide or a framework of what we want to observe. So the question is, why do we want to do assessments with little learners? Because you know what, you're going to hear out there we don't test children. Children shouldn't be assessed. Well, that is in part true, but what we are saying here is that we actually want children to be observed. We want you as teachers to be able to know how each child is developing. So the first part is observing and documenting a child's work and performance over the course of a year allows a teacher to collect a record of that child's growth and development. You know, we all use our little files where we collect the artwork and the cutting that they've done throughout the year. You page back to the first term and you look at this and you think, wow, this child is now cutting so beautifully. At the beginning of the year, they were struggling. So it's a collection of and a record of what the child's been able to achieve. The teacher then uses the assessment information to plan the daily activities. So if I find a child that's really struggling to cut, perhaps I should introduce a few extra activities that will be in my planner based on what I'm observing. The teacher is also able to see each child as an individual. What is so important is that we're not saying all the butterflies can all do the same thing. We know we've got a whole bunch of children in a group, in a class, and they all have different abilities, different likes, different dislikes, and even different ways of learning. So it also helps the teacher to notice very early if a child is consistently not reaching their milestones. So if a teacher is concerned about a child who's really struggling, perhaps she's able to then refer the child based on a set of assessment criteria. She's able to then pass on to the parent or the social worker or even the doctor that a child is referred to with a concrete set of observations rather than a vague thing where you say, oh, I don't think he's doing that well. So I think we'll go straight on to what is the assessment guide. What does it actually look like? So our assessment guide is starting with a couple of things. The first part is there is a question that we want to answer. And the question in the first part is, I can balance on one leg for more than the count to 10. So I'm not sure if this child can do it. So I've got a question about that. How do I test that? Well, I have an activity planned. And the activity is, can you balance on one leg just like me? And then I'm going to count to 10. So that's my activity that I'm going to use for all my learners. Then the next part is, how do I get an assessment, a score, an answer to my question? And my answer may be no, which means that I cannot balance on one leg without wobbling over. It could be that I'm still developing, which means that I can balance on one leg for the count of 1 or 2 seconds, like counts, but then I lose my balance. Or the answer to the question is, yes, I can balance on one leg for the count to 10. So that's how this assessment works for that type of question. The second type of question is more to do with a teacher observation of the learner. And it says, I am independent and confident when I arrive each day. So I think about it and I think, well, when brought to the center, does the child part comfortably from their caregiver, or do they struggle to separate? Do they arrive showing independence and confidence? Well, if I'm going to give the child an accurate answer to that question, it may be, no, I still need my caregiver to help me, or I cry every day when I arrive, or I'm developing, I'm nearly there. I take a little bit of time to settle in, but I can manage, or I don't like my caregiver to leave me, but I settle down. Or the answer is yes. I walk into the classroom, I hang up my bag, I wave goodbye, and I don't have any stress. So this is how this guide helps you to decide what you're seeing, how to check for it, and how to score for it.
And Lisa, this guide, just tell me what age groups are we covering in the assessment checklist?
So we have a separate assessment checklist for 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 5. And while it seems strange to be assessing a 2-year-old, again, it's not an assessment. It's a teacher's tool. It's an observation tool. It's for her to say, oh, I hadn't thought about, does the child start to feed himself with his bowl and spoon? That's quite an important milestone for a 2 to 3-year-old to achieve. So let's put into the assessment checklist all the things that I kind of expect a 2 or 3-year-old to do.
Yeah.
So this is an example here of the 4 to 5-year-old checklist, together with all the steps that the teacher should take to be able to assess each of the steps. And this is what you are able to download off the app as well as print out to keep as your reference. So, as every teacher knows, everything starts with preparation. Why? Because life in a preschool can be chaotic. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to spend a little bit of time reviewing the questions and plan the activities that you're going to do. The second step is you need to go and collect the equipment. And by equipment, we mean things like crayon and pencil, or maybe a skipping rope, or whatever it is that is part of the assessment. Then a great idea is to group your learners into small and manageable groups, because it's much quicker to take 4-year-olds and do the same hopping or jumping activity with all 4 of them at the same time than do one by one by one by one. Then what we need to do is plan activities for the other learners. So I've got a group of 5 outside doing a gross motor assessment, but have I prepared the children inside that are doing something while I'm busy? So maybe I need to put out on the mat some blocks or drawing some crayons or Play-Doh or something that they can do. The next step is the assessment score sheet, which is built into the Grow app, but you can also print the assessment score sheet from the resources portal, which means that some of us may like to use a pen and paper, even though at the end of the day, you've got sheets and sheets and sheets of paper for every single child. It is easier on the app, but you can download the score sheet yourself. And then the next step is you need to carefully explain to the learners what you're doing, because we want them to feel relaxed and at ease and calm. We want to say to them, hey guys, today we're going to do something crazy. We're going to do something really fun. I want you 5 to come with me, and this is what we're going to do. The others, it'll be your turn just now. So basically, we're just setting the scene that the children are ready for assessment. And remember, it's not done in one day. Assessment can be done over a week or 2. Every day, a little piece of it can be done. So we want to get ready for the assessment for this particular age group that we have here. The first step is, for the 2 to 3-year-old assessment, I need to go and prepare for that. So how do I do it? I look on the app and it says to me, go and take a basket and collect the following things that you will need for your assessment. This particular one, I need balls, beads and string, wooden blocks, etc. So that's my first step, is I go and prepare for it. The next step is that I can go to the help button at the bottom of my screen and I can download the PDF, which is the assessment rubric or reference sheet, which we talked about a few minutes ago. Then I can also take a score sheet like this where I have 1 per child, and I can then quietly score yes, no, or still developing for each activity, if that's what I would like to do. Now, if we have a look at the assessment basket, each age group has their own set of equipment that is used in the assessment. So a balancing beam, the beads, crayons and paper, etc. These are all planned for you in the assessment, and you can collect those items. And this is what an assessment basket would look like. Yes, Celine.
Cool. So that's very nice. And for those of you who missed it, in the app, when you go into the assessment section, go to prepare for assessment first, and that's where you will see the list of items that you need to collect. So Lisa, what if I don't have some of these items? Can I still do the assessment?
Absolutely. You know, one preschool looks like the next when you've all been collecting over the years all your equipment. So what if I don't have the equipment? The first thing is, on my assessment tool, I said beads and threader. Well, you know what? I could use anything that is a threader. I could use sticky tape on the end of a piece of string to use as a threader. I could use shoelaces. I could use anything to thread. Connectors, any type of stickle bricks or Duplo blocks or anything where two sides stick together, that's a connector toy. Pegboards, we could even use homemade pegboards. The idea is to see whether the child can get a sharp object into a hole. And that's what the pegboard will show you, is how they actually peg. So there's a variety of items that you can choose to have of your own. You do not need to have the Grow kit in order for you to do an assessment. So what is the process of assessing the child, of assessing a child? So normally the teacher formally assesses a learner twice a year or every term using the assessment guide. So why do I say every year, every term or twice a year? Well, in my experience as a teacher, I found that 4 assessments was kind of too much. There was too much time spent on that. So what I would do is I would do a formal assessment twice a year. The beginning of the year would be my kind of benchmark, where I would be able to say, okay, I know more or less what you children can do. Then at the end of the year, I assess again and I say, oh, check out the growth over the time. But that doesn't mean that I'm not observing and recording my observations throughout the year. This creates a holistic view of the child rather than just 2 times in the year. And part of the assessment process is to collect the portfolio of work throughout the year. So let's have a quick squiz at what we do as an assessment process at Grow. So the first thing is that we need to do is that we need to have a look at what does the child, where is his development right now? What can he do? And so we do what we call a baseline or an entry-level assessment where you say, okay, at this particular point, let's say it's February or March, I know my learners can do the following things, which gives us a growing understanding of the child's needs. With that assessment, we can engage with the parents for the first time, and we can say, wow, this is what we've noticed about your child, or there are a couple of things we need to talk about. The next step is you take that assessment and plan, how am I going to roll out my year? Now, in some classes where we've got a class of 24-year-olds, we need to put them into not a restricted ability group, but sometimes when we're doing something like puzzles, we want to say all of these children at the table can do 24-piece puzzles. I don't want to put a child in the same group who's struggling to do a 6-piece puzzle. So I may group my learners according to that. The next step is, let's look at what approach works. Now, some children love to be very busy and active, and others like to take time over things. So we are able to see that. And then look at what is effective. So put the plan into action. Think about what you have planned to do and put it in your planner book. Even if you have a little note on the side that so-and-so needs extra puzzle time. It's part of your planning. Then later on in the year, you do a second assessment. And based on the second assessment, you again should engage with the parents so that they are always in the loop, as well as engaging with them so that they can be part of the development of these children. So we have spoken about the free assessment resource and tool on the Grow app. So I think it's quite important that we have a look at what we can practically use in order for this assessment process to work. Now is the time to hear if this video is working or not.
Press play,
let's hope.
and if it doesn't, we can stop you.
Is it working?
No.
No?
Lisa, I think you should stop. And then what I will do is let me share my screen and I can show you the same video.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I made the classic mistake of not sharing my sound.
I wasn't, yeah.
Oh, Lisa, I see what you mean here. It doesn't actually allow you to share your sound when you're doing this as a webinar. So everybody, when today we're using Zoom webinar for the first time. So sorry that we're only discovering this little kink. We were going to show you a very cute video, which is teacher Tamron from one of our schools, busy preparing for her 4 to 5-year-olds, and essentially where she goes on the app and how she navigates her way to the assessment. But one of the useful things in there, Lisa, is where she decides whether she will assess a group or an individual. What's your perspective on that? And we allow for both on the Grow app. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So when I do an assessment, I like to do it as a group. So I'll do 5 or 6 learners at a time, especially when things like, gross motor, we want to check how many times they can balance or kick a ball. It's great to put them in a fun activity where they can kick a ball and skip and jump. But then you have a learner who has been off sick. Now he arrives back and the whole assessment time is over. Now, I would like to assess just one child at a time. So I also need the ability to do that.
Yeah, awesome. Sue, thank you. You're saying, send us the video. Sue, I think that's
yes,
a great idea. I will load it on YouTube. And when we email you, I will send you the YouTube link. It's like a 2-minute video, very short.
Yeah.
So please share again with us. We are going to show you screenshots of what you would have seen in the video. So don't worry.
Yeah, we'll also play the video because it is subtitled.
Yeah. Okay, well, should I do that?
Yeah.
Let me do that. So while I play, then maybe you can.
Yeah.
Removing my screen again. My learners. That's where you'll find it.
So she's assessing by development area, and she's going to choose fine motor today. And then she's assessing her 4 to 5-year-old learners. So she quickly clicks on that on the screen, and she's chosen her class. So she's ready to begin, and she's chosen the child that she wants to assess. Now you can see how simple it is. She's doing an activity with the little girl. There's no anxiety or stress. They're having fun together. And she's watching very carefully how she manages. And with a quick tap, oops, she's able to record straight away, yes, no, or still developing for that little girl. And this is really one of our teachers, and she's one of our superstars.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Lisa, please share on your side.
Okay. Right. Right. Okay, so let's take a look at where do I complete the learner assessment on the app. So currently we have the meerkat and the giraffe, which are representing the teacher and the principal, and all the information from both the giraffe and the meerkat all come into one place. So you can start by going into your app. I'm going to My Learners, then I'm going to assess a learner, and then I'm going to click on Run Assessment. So let's have a look how that works. And we're going to run an assessment by development area. That's there for today. So the first thing that I'm going to have a look at is this particular time, I'm going to assess one child, and his name is Aiden. He's been away sick, so I want to just assess him. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on social and emotional development. And I'm going to say, yes, Aiden is happy and plays freely with his friends. So it's very easy for me to sit while he's having a nap and just record how I've observed him over the space of the year. Then you can see that I'm going to go on to the next thing, which is the development area, and I'm going to score for for fine motor. I'm checking Aiden and Farah and Tara at the same time. So I've put out the beads and the thread is on the table, and I said, guys, can you do some threading for me? And then I sit back and I watch and I wait. And I observe them threading, and then I score. Yes, no, or still developing.
And what I really love, Lisa, is that you have the space for the comments, because you've made it clear that we need to be constantly observing. And that's very helpful. And these comments then get recorded, and which is very useful when you're having your conversation with the parents as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we've written in there, needed additional prompting and guidance. So I've scored her as still developing. I haven't said no, she can't do the threading, but what I did notice is that she really needed me to encourage, come along, let's do it, let me show you. So she's not confident yet to just pick up a threader and some beads and go for it. So the next thing is, let's have a look at how to view the assessment progress, because I have got 3 classes in my center, all different age groups. I can't keep track of who's done what. So I go and I select the age group that I want to check on. The next thing that I do is I say, all right, I'm choosing the 45-year-olds and I'm looking at the assessment progress. Now, as a principal, I'm maybe sitting in my office and I want to check and see how far are we from finished. So I can go into my app and look, and I say, I have 18 learners in the 45-year-old class. 6 have been assessed. 8 of them are still in progress because she hasn't quite finished with them. And 4 of them, she hasn't even started yet. So that helps me to quickly know how to allocate my time. And maybe I need to send an assistant teacher to help the 4-year-old, 5-year-old teacher to get through everything. So then the next step that I need to take is I want to go and have a look at one particular area and see how that is going. So I view my assessment results, and I'm thinking to myself, let me have a look at the fine motor so that I've got an idea of how the children have been doing in that. And I pull up the report and I can go by learner, and I can see that Aiden has scored yes for many things, but he's still developing for fine motor skills. I can then put a comment there. And Aiden has done very well in 2022. I can assess in that. I can check my reports. The other way to do a report is I can download the report straight away, and I can then share it on the app with the parent if the parent has their Lion app, which is the parent version. The other option is that I can WhatsApp it to my parents, or I can print it out. Now, we have lots of learners going off to grade R. They have to bring something with them to show that they've been at a preschool. Now, we don't want somebody else's printed version where we've cut and pasted a logo on top. We want something professional. And this is what you can send with your learner to their grade R or even grade 1 when they get there. based on what you've observed. So the teacher can add comments and observations per question and overall. The report can then, as I said, be emailed even, or WhatsApp to instant messaging, and it's available to the parent. So where do I find the downloadable assessment resource? The assessment resource, again, is on your Giraffe or your Meerkat app, and you can go to My Tools, then to Resources, and then to Forms and Templates. So you are able to also download these resources there if you don't go directly and do it on your app.
Lisa, this is the section that I'm very excited about because over the weekend, I'm not an educator, but over the weekend I went online and I did the learner assessment training. And I found it very, very interesting. In fact, today I've seen a lot of questions in the chat and in the Q&A. People are asking whether they can receive a certificate or an e-certificate regarding learner attendance. So this next section is your answer to that question. You can actually do our training module online or on your app, and it's for free. I did mine over the weekend and it was brilliant. Tell us about it.
No, absolutely. So, you know, the main thing is it's really important that our teachers are given the tools that they need. It's so disheartening where you have a teacher who is so willing and so really, really capable, but we haven't put the tools in her hand. So the first step that we want to do is we've made it available, the training on the learner assessment, the process and how to do it. It's available, smartphone, tablet, laptops, and you go directly to the Grow Academy at that address. And remember that it's data free. So the teacher, all she needs, if she's going to do it on her phone, all she needs is enough data on her phone just to reach the internet. Thereafter, it doesn't take any of her data. The assessment, she can take her time over, the assessment training. She's able to do it quietly in her own space. She's able to look at how to do it and to feel confident when she's ready to do the assessment. And there's a second way that you could also go and get the assessment training, and that is to go from the Giraffe or the Meerkat app. And you go to My Tools, then you go to Training, and then you go to Learner Assessment. Now, there are a lot of additional workshops and trainings that are available to anybody to use. And these are also available in the same way. So if you go to the Grow Academy, you're able to access training like parenting skills. There are many other trainings that you're available for anybody to use.
Some of our top online training courses include budgeting for ECT centers, ethics, and also our Grow, our teacher development program, Lisa. I mean, that's the most popular one.
Yes. So interestingly, is if you go and you have a look on the app, on the Grow Academy data free, that's the site, you would be able to choose a variety of free training courses. So the learner assessment guide is one of those. There's also one which is the teacher assessment guide. And I know that there are a lot of principals that are getting towards the end of the year and thinking, you know, I need to give my teachers structured feedback, but I don't even know where to start. And so you're able to have a look at the teacher assessment guide, and you're able to download the resources, which will allow you to assess your teachers as well. So this is what the assessment course looks like, the learner assessment course. Everything is available straight on your phone. And the most important thing to remember is that a teacher does not have to complete the entire training in one sitting. She could go and do a little bit of it now. She could do some on the weekends. And at the end of the time, what's really wonderful for the teachers is they'll be able to go through exactly what we've done today They'll be able to see all the resources that we've talked about today. They're able to download the checklist straight out of their training, online training as well. So all she has to do is click and download it to her phone, and she can print it straight away. And then it even tells you, which is something so few training courses do, it helps the teacher to understand and plan for how to do feedback to parents. It's difficult. You're young. A parent arrives and you need to kind of give them the not so great news that maybe their child is not doing that well. On the assessment, they need to have a little bit more attention in a certain field. It's important that a teacher is given the skills that will help her to do the parent feedback. And then you're able to get your certificate of the course completion. And you know what? There's very little accolade for teachers that are doing online courses or any courses. You know, it's wonderful for them to come back, download their certificate and have it in their CV for when you know they move on. It's also a great motivator for our teachers, you know, to do continuous professional development.
Absolutely.
So, where to from here?
Yes, Lisa, shall I go through this?
I'd love you to. Thanks, Helene.
Take a breather for your throat. Thanks. You very much, Lisa. Where to from here in terms of next steps? If you are a center owner and you don't have the Giraffe app yet, that is the place to start. The center owner downloads the Giraffe app and registers the ECD center or preschool. They then register their staff or their teachers. This is important because only staff or teachers that are registered on the Giraffe app are able to download and log in to the teacher's app. So any random person can't log in as a teacher to your school. You as the owner decide who are your teachers, what are their email addresses, and when you register them on the Giraffe app, only then can the teacher download the Meerkat app, which is the app for teachers, and she can log in and she can start doing the learner assessments. You as an owner or as a teacher can also complete the online training that Lisa just explained, and you access that via the app for free. Lisa, prepare, and prepare. After doing that assessment online training, I really could see how much time and effort teachers put into preparing. Prepare for your assessment, and then you'll be ready for a smooth and easy learner assessment, a professional learner assessment that will really give you so much valuable insight and prepare you for having great discussions with your parents.
Yeah, thanks, Helene. Yeah, I think, you know, what's really important is that we recognize the incredible load that our preschool teachers are under, from crying children to nappies that need changing to children that need feeding. There's so much in their busy day. The assessment period is not meant to be a stressful time. It is meant to be a time where you have this dedicated time where you can observe your learners and you can engage with them in smaller groups. And sometimes you might just need the principal or a partner teacher to help you with the process. So what we really want is the environment of the assessment period to be as chilled as possible, because if you reduce a child's anxiety and your own anxiety, you're able to do so much more. It's when you are feeling anxious that you don't perform at your best. So really, the assessment should not be a challenge to anybody. It should not be a stressful time. And really, once you've got your assessment and you sit down with your principal, have a look at your results and be as honest as you can, because this is not a test of the teacher. It's not her assessment of what she's achieved in the year. Instead, it's an opportunity to sit back and say, wow, look at this, my fine motor skills for my class is quite low. I wonder what I can do to change that. Or gross motor. My children are not climbing, skipping, jumping. I wonder if I could use this to motivate my parents to help me buy a jungle gym. There are so many things that you can do with the information because it's all accessible and summarized into the results that you get. Whereas in the past, I would have sheets of paper and then I would go through them and try and remember, okay, if I color code it and I say, poor gross motor, this one, this one, this one, am I getting the picture? Seldom did. But the app is able to pull all that information into a usable report that will help you with planning for the future.
Great, Lisa. I like what you're saying there. So you can actually see the results per class or even per school. And that helps you, so that as a teacher, you would want to see per individual, but maybe if you're an owner, you want to see how a class is doing in general. And I also appreciate what you're saying. This is not a test of the teacher. And that's why it's so crucial that as a teacher, you answer these questions honestly. Because if you are just marking everything yes, yes, and yes, so that it can look good for you or for your parents, you're not doing the child a favor.
No, absolutely. You know, in addition to this, we offer face-to-face training throughout the year where teachers can actually come into our offices. We've got an office in Durban, Joburg, and Cape Town, and teachers can come in and do the training face-to-face. And one important thing is, if I ask the question, can they draw an age-appropriate picture of themselves? I don't even know where to start assessing what's age-appropriate. But we have resources where we can show the teacher, this is a typical 2-year-old picture or a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old. And they're going, okay, I can get that. We're able to help the teachers to better understand each of the assessment areas and what to do with their learners.
Excellent. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Lisa, just go to the next slide for us. It has our help desk information. So this is the app support help desk. If you have technical issues with your app, it's telling you you forgot your password or your email address is invalid or you're not sure where to find the training, you can chat to the app help desk during office hours on WhatsApp or call or email. Don't ask the help desk, the app support help desk, if you want to know about the intricacies of education, for example. The app support help desk is a technical help desk. Where you're speaking to someone technical who understands how the app works. Rather, if you have that type of questions, you would just email info@grow. I have a few questions on here. Lisa, there was someone who was asking about assessing 5 to 6-year-olds. Maybe you can just remind us about the age groups and if there is anything we can do if we have that age group. Okay.
So currently, we only have assessment material available for 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 5, because traditionally the 5 to 6-year-old age group belongs to grade R. And in previous years, grade R belonged to the Department of Education, and ages 0 to 5 belong to the Department of Social Development. So that's how we landed up only having the assessment tools for those age groups. So that doesn't mean that that's where we stop. It means it's under construction. We are also going to have a 0 to 2-year-old assessment available in some time as well, because we also want to make sure that our little bubbas are also just being observed carefully. So that is also under construction.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Lisa. I also think that Linky sent a very useful question here. She was asking about whether this app is currently only available on Android phones. Linky, you're correct. Currently, the app is only available on Android phones or Android tablets, as well as Huawei. So if you have an iPhone or you have a laptop, unfortunately, you can't get the app on there yet. I can say that we are working on it. The technical team is working on it, but I can't give you a date for when that's going to be ready yet.
So I think something that's also important just before we end off is that this material is freely available to anybody across the country. It is not just for Grow app users. Once you have the app, it's easy for you to use all the resources, but it's not just for Grow people. So anybody can use this material. It's free of charge across all centers.
Thank you. Thanks. Lisa, I'm also going to launch a poll that will ask you how helpful you found the webinar. We want to know for future webinars, please tell us what time suits you best. Please tell us what time you will work the best for you in future, and also tell us what topics we should host webinars on in future. There's a poll that is live right now. We are basically done. So thank you very much to everybody who has joined us. Lisa and I will stay online to take a few more questions for those who need it. Otherwise, those who need to get back to what they're busy with, we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Gail. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for sharing the feedback on the poll. We'll make sure we... Laura has a great question. Can you add your own observations to the question? Lisa, can you add observations as you answer the questions for the assessment?
Yes. I would say in the comment section below every question, there is a comment section where you could add observations there. I think that would probably be the most useful place.
You know what is also useful, Lisa, if you go back to slide 34.
Okay.
You will see that, please keep going back. It's where we see the learner assessment result, the report for downloading. There is actually a section in there. There we go. Learner assessment results. You can see the results for Aiden Leclerc, and then there's a section for comment. That is where you can add your comment overall on the learner as a whole. So besides for being able to add an observation per question, you can also add as a teacher the observation on the report overall, the assessment overall.
Yeah.
You can see, I don't see any other questions at this stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we are done with 5 minutes to spare. I did promise you
done well.
An informative session. We are not wasting your time. For those of you who still have questions, please feel free to email us. You will receive the slides and the recording an hour, 24 hours from now. Okay, Jacqueline, I see your question about, no, it was Melinda. Melinda is asking if a psychologist in private practice could register on the system and use it as part of planning intervention.
Wow,
that
hadn't thought about that.
I would say maybe you should drop us an email at info@grow. It's not a question we have an exact answer for you right now.
And actually, we would love to engage with you further on that and see how we can be, of assistance with providing with something like this assessment tool.
It's info@growecd.org.za. I'm going to answer your question.
Yeah.
Marianne is a teacher at a LSEN school, and she's asking if she can create a private account as a teacher and not as a principal. Currently, that's not doable with the way that our system is set up at the moment. I don't know if there's anybody who has a workaround for that.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet because initially the principal is the person and